Happy Halloween, y'all. I'm Ofosu Jones-Quartey.
And I'm Leah Cruz. We're the meditation coaches on the Balance app.
And this is our weekly show, Well Balanced, where we explore ways to live a healthier, happier, and today, spookier life.
And today it's Halloween. And we're wearing masks right now if you're watching this on YouTube or Spotify. So we are actually going to be talking about facing our fears.
Yeah, very, very spooky. All right, well, speaking of facing, let's reveal our faces now.
This is my Halloween costume from when I was 2 years old. My mom saved it.
That's amazing.
Halloween costume. Yeah.
I wish I had my plastic ET mask from 1983. This is a laser cut tiger mask by an artist named Dan Schaub, who made this
beautiful
for me. I have a lot of his art. All of it, like this piece behind me, is made by him and stuff. So,
I mean, Halloween can be so much fun. I mean, I enjoy it as an adult.
Me
just
too.
Dressing up. I love it.
I love Halloween.
I actually got to doing a little research on where Halloween comes from, like the origins of Halloween. All these kids used to go around and people used to go ask for money or treats from door to door and dress up in these costumes and have like carved turnips.
The first jack-o'-lanterns.
Yeah. And then, at some point in America, it became this like the trick or treat.
Yeah.
But the trick part, like kids started to really defame houses and pull really nasty tricks.
Straight
unless
vandalism.
People started to, vandalizing and unless people put candy on the front doors or started to give them out treats. So then we just kind of have what we have today where we spend, billions of dollars on candy for this house.
It's the time of year that is particularly tough for me because this is when the specialty Reese's come out, beginning with the Reese's Pumpkins, and the specialty Reese's, they last till Easter. And so, yes, it's that time of year. For some people, it's the most wonderful time of the year. I know so many people who love spooky season.
Yeah. But I think it's also kind of a time that we can, if we really think about what the profound truth is within this whole idea of trick-or-treating, it comes down to facing our fears, facing the goblins, facing the ghosts, facing the demons, and
opening your door to them.
Yeah, acknowledging them because we welcome them in, just like the fairies and the mythical creatures, that come to our doors on Halloween. And we acknowledge each one and we're like, oh, what a cute costume. Oh, look at you, and we give them all a treat. And then we send them on their way, like no harm, no foul. But as soon as we shun them and don't acknowledge them, that's when the vandalism happened. That's when they just come on full force, right? So it's this great analogy to how we treat our own fears inside.
I totally agree. I feel like Halloween is so rich and that it's not unique to one particular culture. You have the Day of the Dead in Mexican culture and like in my culture in Ghana, we have opportunities to commune with the ancestors on a regular basis with spirits who have gone beyond. So I think it's like this human thing to acknowledge the other realms that are around us. But what you're talking about, which I think is really fascinating, is what about acknowledging the beautiful fairies and princes and princesses that arise in our minds, the positive things, and then the really ugly, terrifying goblins that arise, the demons that arise. And can we give handfuls of candy to each, equally? So it's actually a really profound practice, I think, to reflect on how Halloween can reflect our inner world. For me, in my meditation this morning, for the past few days, I've been waking up feeling really anxious, and anxiety has been my dancing partner for many, many years. So it's not out of the ordinary for me to wake up with feelings of anxiety. But for the past week or so, it's been pretty persistent. And I'll get into my meditation and I'll feel this fear kind of in the pit of my stomach. And I've been working with it and just noticing it. And I finally engaged with a practice connected to Tibetan Buddhism called Chöd today, where I really personified this feeling of fear and I let it talk to me. So the idea is that like I found where the feeling was in my body and it was right in the pit of my stomach. And then I I gave it form. I was like, well, what shape is it? What does it look like? And it kind of looked like this big slug. And it was green and kind of massive. And so I noticed it and I really kind of noticed its details. And then I asked it, well, okay, what do you want? And like the response was something really cruel, like, I want you to suffer or something like that.
Wow.
Like something that you would expect, like, a goblin to say to you,
Yeah.
And then I asked, well, what do you need? And he said, I just need some peace. And then I said, well, what do you want me to know? What are you afraid of? And then it just started rattling off all kinds of stuff like, well, I'm really uncertain and afraid of the next phase of my life, like what's going to happen with the book and this and that. I have fear around, just the progress and development of my children. I'm scared of my parents dying. I'm scared of dying. I'm scared of losing the people that I love. I just feel the uncertainty of the climate. It just kept saying all these things that I apparently had deep in my stomach that I really wasn't paying attention to. And they were really tender, normal, beautiful things to acknowledge that you're afraid of, but I really wasn't seeing them. And so I then imagined that I could just become the peace that this big slug was looking for and offered that peace to it. And it gradually turned into a butterfly and just sat next to me in my meditation.
Oh.
And so, I mean, that's like the nature of this practice, to visualize, personify, engage, and then pacify.
I love this process that you just described. It's so similar to like the internal family systems model that was developed in the 80s. It's used in the psychology field, which is very, very similar. It's like looking at the different parts of you and addressing the shadowy parts and asking it questions and finding out where, when it first felt that way, where it came from, what its fears are, and letting it have a name and a shape and a form, and then letting it transform through just reassurance and talking to it without shunning it. So it comes back to this acknowledging. And, I used to be really afraid of public speaking and of speaking in front of groups. Like I had considered myself a very shy person. And, I would hide away at work behind my desk and I wouldn't raise my hand in groups of people. But, I was inspired by Elizabeth Gilbert, the author. She talks about writing a letter to her fear. And she basically said, hey, fear, I know that you are doing your job, which is to try to protect me from anything outside of the norm, anything that has involved risks, anything creative. But, you're doing your job a little too well and you can take the back seat. You're by no means allowed to get into the driver's seat. You're allowed to come on this ride and I appreciate you for what you're trying to do, but you're not allowed to have a voice. You're not allowed to be the captain of this ship. And so, is it kind of this nice acknowledgement of like, okay, thank you for what it is you're trying to do. And I'm not going to try to banish you or get rid of you, but I am going to know that you're not running this ship. And so I, wrote a letter like that to myself, and it really helped me to the things I was afraid of. And it was come down to be afraid of being judged. And that linked to a fear of not being loved and being abandoned and being all alone. We have these deep fears that drive our behaviors. In a way, it's like we're doing our own exposure therapy. And so this idea that we safely and gradually expose ourselves to the things that we're afraid of, or the situations or objects, and that by doing that, we overcome the fear over time. And we learned to not associate fear with or bad outcomes with that situation. And it lowers anxiety, and it gives us a chance to just put more realistic beliefs about the insecurities that we have, or the fears of rejection, or the fears of judgment, or in your case, you were talking about these fears about something bad happening.
And just those like existential fears around mortality and impermanence. And it comes actually from a pretty honorable place. I want things to be right with the people that I love the most. And it comes from a wise place that, impermanence is real. Any one of us could die at any moment. That's a heavy topic, but like to not acknowledge either is like when the fears haunt you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So it's not like you can expose yourself to that exact scenario. But you can acknowledge the fear. And that's what I love about meditation, because we are creating that safe space to let fears and old wounds arise. Even if we don't realize that's what we're doing, that's what's going to happen because that's what the body mind system wants to do, wants to heal and release all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like it did for you today,
Yeah.
And I think that was a perfect example of us giving ourselves that safe space to go, okay, I can acknowledge the fear that's rising. I can acknowledge the thoughts that are living within me. And then ask it those questions like, what do you want?
Yeah.
What do you need? Which was like a very different answer. And then, what are you afraid of? And then just have the compassion like you did.
This is after many years of seeing my fears and being frightened by them and like running away or pushing them away or shaming myself because of them, and it goes back to the trick or treat thing. Like I didn't offer a treat to the goblin that arose and then it just kept playing tricks on me, haunted me, So opening your door and offering a treat. Open your door acknowledging what a beautiful costume. And then, or like, ooh, scary. And then like, here's some Reese's and and then they go on their way. Now, I will add the caveat that for some people who have deep trauma and who are deeply triggered, you might need some more support in helping you, in walking you through.
And creating that safe space.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. When your trauma wants to play trick or treat, you might need somebody else to help open the door and to help walk you through that process. And there's no shame in that at all. Like even knowing like, man, I could use some more help here is really profound.
I think even just on a very everyday casual basis, when we mess up, we make mistakes, just as simple as the things like acknowledging the mistakes that we made and, saying to someone, hey, you know what? I made a mistake. Shouldn't have said that or shouldn't have done that. I can have humility for the fact that, hey, that wasn't cool or, I messed up in ways that we're facing our fears by doing that, by just being vulnerable and having humility and owning our sides of the street throughout our day in the ways that we interact with other people. So there's so many ways we can face our fears. And that would be like a fear of being weak or a fear of being wrong,
I have that fear a lot too.
We like to be right.
Yeah. All the time, infallibly, forever.
Yeah. Well, I really relate to what you're saying, Ofosu, about the fear of what kind of world our children are growing up in and will they have access to the resources in the life that we had, and the fears about our loved ones and the fears about the uncertainty of the future or health issues. And I think just talking about it with people, just talking about our fears, it's like it kind of dissolves some of the power that it has hooked in within us. That those fangs or those claws, they just soften a little bit, and it's
the vampire.
It's nice to be able to, it's nice to be able to just chat about it with people. I think that's if I would give a takeaway from this, I think it's like creating that safe space for ourselves to acknowledge, but it's also sharing with community and sharing with a friend or loved one, or maybe a supportive professional, what we're afraid of.
I am feeling some really nice catharsis just having this conversation with you right now. So for sure.
Yeah.
So the next time your thoughts come trick-or-treating, especially the ones that are kind of spooky and unpleasant, don't shut the door on them or they'll play a trick on you. They'll haunt you. So I think a big takeaway for me is to trust that it's okay to face your fears and to listen to what they have to say. And you will most likely, underneath that mask, find something beautiful.
Yeah. A little child that just wants some reassurance.
Yeah.
Or just wants to have a hug.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, thanks for this conversation. It's been lovely as always. And if you are not watching this podcast yet, go check us out on YouTube and you can see our masks, our little Halloween costumes.
And my thriller-inspired jacket.
Our channel is called Balance, and we've got a link to today's episode in the show notes. Or if you're on Spotify, you can see the video when playing this episode in the app.
And if you want to get the latest audio versions of our episodes, you can follow basically wherever you get your podcasts. We are all over the place.
And we're going to be back next week. But until then, have a lovely week. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Don't forget to be kind to yourself. Trick or treat and enjoy.